Hey guys, it's Kat and I'm back today for a wear test. Now, if you were watching my Get Ready With Me from, I think, last week, the week before, I did try a bunch of new stuff from SUVA Beauty. They have the Block Party collection out. The palette is limited edition. It's a cool palette. I'm actually wearing the palette on my eyes today. It's a very colorful palette and you probably wouldn't have picked that I'm wearing it because I'm wearing quite a soft look, but I'm using this sort of pinky kind of shimmery color, and then I mix the yellow and the pink sort of in the outer corner and the crease really softly. So I'm only wearing this palette today, but they released this palette along with 3 new shades of their Hydra Liners. So I've got the 3 shades here and they're super fun colors. They're very me colors. I love blues, I love teals, and this purple liner is giving me life. So it's got cool holographic packaging to go with that Block Party sort of theme. And SUVA Beauty is sort of most well known for their Hydra Liners. So if you had a few people ask me about them and how they wear and what they're like, and I thought I'll tell you. So I'm doing a wear test on one of them today, which is the blue one, but I'm also just going to tell you from experience what I've noticed with these. Now, SUVA Beauty do have a bunch of these. They've got neon colors, they've got really cool colors. 2 of these are UV colors. So these 2 colors here, if it's under a black light, it sort of glows under a black light. So these are fun for a multitude of things, whether it is as an eyeliner or whether it's just as like a face paint or body paint. Now, the way these work is they're just like a solid dry cake. So if you touch it, like barely anything comes off, it's just like a solid cake. And then what you do is you activate it with water. So you get your brush, you dip it in water, you put it in, and then it creates like a watercolor paint. Now you will see me apply the blue one soon, but I thought I'd just swatch them anyway. So just add a bit of water, mix it up, and you can then apply it like a paint, and it dries pretty quickly. This one dries matte. I find the other ones, even though they're not matte liners technically, they are the UV ones, they still dry matte in my opinion. And they do dry pretty fast depending on how much water you put in them. They're also different levels of pigmentation depending on how much water you put in them. Now, it's not so much how much water you put in, it's how much you mix it around and how much water dries out. So I prefer to make it more of like a paste. I'll show it to you once again when I'm applying it. But if you let it sort of get a little bit thicker, like a runny paint rather than a water, you end up having a much thicker, sort of drier, pigmented liner or paint. And that means that it doesn't have that sort of like translucent look to it. It's a little bit drier, a little bit easier to control. The runnier you make it, it can actually start, like you can see it start to bleed into the skin, like it bleeds into creases a little bit, and it can kind of go where it wants to go, like it's colored water. So that shade there is Freezie, which is a very, very bright sort of teal color. And the great thing about these is you can just wash your brush in water very, very easily, and it's completely clean. Whereas if you're familiar with like gel liners and stuff, you have to give it a good clean for them to get the product out because they're so budge proof. So this is the color I'm wearing today on my eyes that I'm doing the wear test of, and this is in the shade Tracksuit. So this is like, once again, quite a vibrant blue. I find that this one is one of the most translucent ones. So even if you do get a good sort of paste happening, it is a little bit translucent, but it's a really pretty bright blue. You'll also notice that when you add water, it looks brighter than the cake. It will dry down to the color of the cake. So it does dry down to a darker color, but you can build it up just quite easily to get an opaque finish. So that's the color I'm wearing on my eyes today. Now, my personal favorite is this one here, which is in Grape Soda. This is like a dark magenta. This is so amazing. This is the one I've used the most. I would have done a wear test on this one because it's by far my favorite. Whenever I wear this, people are like, oh my God, what liner are you wearing? It's so unique. It's such a great color. And they're right, it is unique. It is a great color. I've got sort of teal liners and blue liners from multiple different brands, whereas this sort of magenta purple, is very, very hard to find. And you can see, once again, it's one of the most opaque of the bunch. You pretty much only need one line, like one coat. You can build it up if you want to, but you really don't need to. And this is a way that you can really make any boring eye look really interesting. I just find this really gorgeous. So that's definitely my favorite one. And I sort of wish I did the wear test on it, but I hadn't tried the blue one, so I sort of wanted to see how the blue one was going to wear. And once again, these are so easy to clean. It's just like done, brush, cleaned, done. And now I actually sort of want one this color, because that color is also so good. Okay, so I thought before I get into applying this and doing the wear test, I wanted to tell you what I think about these, because besides the blue one that I'm testing today, I have tried the other ones. I've tried the purple one a few times, and I've tried the bright teal one once. Now, when I did do the Get Ready With Me, I was using the purple one. A lot of people asked, how do water activated liners last? Because clearly if they get wet, they will become liquid and move around. And that's true. I haven't actually worn these in the rain. No, I lie. I wore one of them in the rain, but luckily it wasn't raining too much. But what I did find was when I did the Get Ready With Me and I was using the purple one, probably about 8 hours later, I was like chilling. It was like 10 o'clock at night, and I sort of rubbed my eye and I noticed that it started flaking off. So for me, I was like, okay, these are definitely more temporary, like not all day wear products. They are definitely, put the brush down. So yeah, I did notice that these aren't designed for long wear, clearly. So if you do want to wear these on a night out, it's probably best to do them, like put your makeup on as late as possible. If you just want to wear it for a few hours, it will look fine. I did actually wear this teal color all day last weekend, and I found that it wore fine. It was no problem. Once again, it gets to a point that if you start touching your eyes too much, it will start to flake, but if you don't touch your eyes, it's pretty much fine. One thing that I did actually want to test though was that I heard that if you use Duraline instead of water to activate a lot of cake liners, you can make it waterproof. I wanted to test that out, and I tried it and it didn't work. So I tried it with the purple. I put a drop of Duraline, which is it's a product from Inglot that makes products waterproof. So you can mix it with like pigments and turn them into like liners and whatnot, and they stay waterproof. Now I found that this just did not mix with the cake. So other cake liners, you can use Inglot. There are a lot of cake liners out there with different brands. A lot of makeup artist brands do it. But I found that this one had to be water activated. Now, if you put a drop onto the Hydra liners, you mix your brush around and it just won't pick up any of the product whatsoever. It's literally just you're mixing Duraline on top of the cake, and it's like oil and water. They do not want to mix. So the problem with that is, and what I had to do really quickly was remove the Duraline, because this could seal up over the top of the cake, and it could make it like unusable. So I quickly removed that and decided, okay, Duraline won't make it waterproof, but what happens if I put Duraline over the top of the liner? So what I ended up doing was wearing the purple one. I put it on, I let it dry, and then with a brush I put Duraline over the top, and I have to say that that did make it last a lot longer. I wore that in the rain, it seemed fine. It is a little bit crumbly at the end of the day, because it's just the nature of this sort of crumbly formula that is like, yeah, it's like a paint. But I did find that it did work really well. So what I'm doing today, long-winded, but what I'm doing today is I'm applying the eyeliner by itself, and then I've applied it with Duraline over the top, and we're going to see how they wear. All right, so let's cut to me applying the liner, and then we'll get onto the wear test. All right, time to apply it, and it is 11:15 in the morning, so I'm going to wear this hopefully for, I'm going to say at least 6 hours, hopefully 8 hours, and the shade I'm using is Tracksuit, which is great because I'm wearing tracksuit pants right now. You can see it is a cake liner, obviously. And I've got a glass of water, so I'm just putting my brush in that. It's good to just sort of work it around. It's quite thin to start with, and you can see that if it's thin, it's sort of a little less pigmented. So I just find that it's best to sort of work it into more of a like a thin paste. The only problem I find with mixing products like this is that you sort of overload the brush, so it's best to sort of scrape some off, because you end up applying like a lot of product on your eye, which you don't really want. So anyway, I'm happy with the consistency there. Zoom in a little bit. I don't know how blue is going to go on this color that I've chosen, this peachy eye, but it is what it is. So that applied a little bit dry because it had sort of dried out. This dries really quickly, so I just put a little bit more water to just make it a little bit easier to apply smoothly on the eye. And you can see that this color isn't super opaque, but it is very bright. So I took a lot of product off just then for the wing because since it is quite overloaded, these sort of products probably work best with a smaller brush. This is a Sigma eyeliner brush E05, and I find that it can make the flick and the liner very thick, which is what I've got going on now. So you can see that I just took off a lot of the product on the side when I was doing the wing because I just didn't want to overload it, because then you get a really sort of like chunky, not chunky, but thick wing, which I don't really want. So I'll just do this eye. And now I've got the formula pretty much down pat for this eye, which is good. Hopefully you can see as well that when it is a little bit wet, it is a little bit brighter, then it dries down to more of like the color in the dry cake, so it's a bit of a darker blue. And when you're done, you can just wash your brush really easily, which is really handy. If you wear a lot of liner, you'll know how handy this is, because you pretty much have to properly spot clean or like deep clean your brush anytime you use like a long wear liner. Okay, so since I do want to do a wear test and I want to try it just on its own, see how it wears versus making it a little bit more waterproof, I am actually going to apply Inglot Duraline over the top of one of them. Now this actually does change the finish, so we'll see that. But in my experience, it does add a lot of wear time to it. So, but what I'm going to do is just put a drop on the back of my hand like that. I don't know if you can see it there. And just with my same brush, I'm going to just put that over the top of one of the liners, one of the eyes. So hopefully you can see that that one has gone shiny because Duraline is like an oil product. So it has sort of, it's going to set it with a shine to it, whereas that's more of a matte finish. So I am going to look a little bit wonky today, but you can see it hasn't really changed the color. I kind of thought that maybe Duraline makes it a little bit darker, but I don't think it does. I think the shine just, you can see more dimension to the color rather than when it's just flat, it just looks like a bright, like one color. Whereas if you got the shine, sort of looks darker in some areas and lighter in the other. But I think overall the color is pretty much the same. So I'm just going to put some mascara on and we'll see how it looks. Hopefully it doesn't look too different. All right, so mascara's on and they both look pretty similar. Like I said, you can tell one's got a bit of a shine, but that only, you know, you can only notice if you look pretty close. So I'm sort of happy going out of the house today looking like this. I did also want to note that because this is quite watery and it can get on your lashes very easily, you might find that mascara sort of clumps a little bit more because your lashes are sort of stuck together almost just at the base from where the liner has sort of coated it. So it's best to maybe just brush through your lashes to try to break that up before you actually do your mascara, or if you do your mascara and find it a bit chunky, go in with like a lash comb just to sort of remove some of the chunks, because I did notice that this mascara is generally really good. This is the Balm Mad Lash, and I've been really loving this lately, but I noticed that today it looked particularly chunky and I just had to sort of brush through them a bit to break it up. Anyway, we'll see how this wears. All right, I'm back and this is the final check-in and it is 8:46. So it's well after 9 hours later. So I've had this on for a long time. And I am gonna zoom in so you can see what's happened with the eyes. Okay, I'll explain it, but I'll zoom in first. All right, just a reminder that this is an eye that I didn't put Duraline on to sort of waterproof it. And you can see that it stayed pretty well. There's a little bit of like bleeding, a little, like it's transferred and bled a little bit on the inner corner. And then surprisingly, the eye that I did put Duraline on that was supposed to make it waterproof has bled more. And you can see there that this eye, pretty much maybe 2 hours after applying this, my eye got really watery. So it was just this one eye. So you can tell that if you have very watery eyes, or if for some reason your eyes get quite wet, even putting Duraline on it, it will bleed. So you can see that it started bleeding, it started moving the liner a bit there, but considering it's actually not that bad. So this eye looks a lot better and there was less bleeding, but this eye didn't water. So this is pretty much how you would expect it to wear normally, 9 hours, 9 hours. But I think the key difference here is how it feels. This is starting to feel quite crunchy and flaky. I might zoom in a bit more. And this one doesn't feel like that at all. It feels like it's stuck on really well. So even though it did sort of start transferring when I started getting watery eye in the outer corner and inner corner, it feels like it's a lot more intact. So here's the final test. So this does feel a little bit flakier. You can't see it, but when you rub your finger over it, you can see that it starts to flake off. So it is a lot drier. And this is the thing, like, if you rub your eyes, you're gonna have a bad time with this liner, but if you don't touch your eyes, it's fine. But you can see how flaky and dry it's become. So it's just starting to flake down my face. Whereas this one, we're trying the flake thing again, and there's a little bit of flakiness, but there's really not that much. And I'm actually rubbing this quite hard. So there's a little bit of flakiness, but it's a lot better than this eye here. So what did we learn here today? Well, we learned that if you don't touch your eyes and you wear these, you can get a decent look out of them for, 8, 9, 10 hours, as long as you don't rub your eyes. It's when you start to rub your eyes and they start to flake off, that's when it sort of becomes problematic. Also, if you have watery eyes, no matter if you set it with a waterproofing sort of product or not, they will bleed, they will start to run. So, they're water activated, it is what it is. But these do wear surprisingly well for things that aren't designed to be budge proof, that aren't designed to be waterproof. They do last pretty well if you just don't touch your eyes or if you don't have watery eyes. Now, I did find that putting a waterproofing product over the top like Duraline does help it sort of grip to the skin a little bit better, so it doesn't feel as dry and flaky, so it's less inclined to sort of crack and flake off. But if you do have watery eyes, it will still bleed, whether you put Duraline or a waterproofing product on it regardless. But I would mainly recommend these if you really, really, really adore a color and you can't find that color in a normal gel formula. These are great. How much do they contain? They contain 10 grams of product. So you're getting quite a lot of product and you use a smallest amount every time you do it, every time you do your makeup. So they are very good value as well. And the great thing about these is they won't dry out because they're dry cake liners. So whereas there's a lot of like gel liners that you might get on the market that are really cool and really budge proof, but they do dry out and there's almost like a lifespan to them, whereas these will keep going for ages and ages because they don't dry out. They are a dry product. So hopefully that was helpful if you did want to see how these wear all day. They do wear, you just got to be careful with them. I also wanted to point out that my friend Haley, who I have another channel with, she did use this one and it did stain her eyes and she had a bit of a reaction. So if you have very sensitive eyes, I would look at the ingredients in these and see if these would work for you, because they work for me. Every shade has been fine on me, but I know on her, she did have a bit of a reaction to that one. So yeah, that's the thing. All right, guys, hopefully you found that helpful and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.